kora ibintu
almost anything you can imaginable, people did.
ati ibintu udashobora gusobanura abantu bakoraho.
They worshipped statues of Daphne. There were deities that they worshipped.
Ibyo ni ibigirwamana basengaga.
All kinds of rampant immorality. So as it was explained, I'm from Oklahoma. And I did not drive. So I flew. And I could tell the really bad joke that my arms are still tired. And evidently that did not go over, so that's okay.
I heard what you said, sorry.
She does a great job, doesn't she? Praise the Lord for you.
Thank you.
So last night, Pastor Terry, raise your hand. He said that he had an ancestry test done. And found out that he was 58% Congolese. I am 0% Congolese. However, if you can see it, this is a picture.
Thank you.
This is a picture of my granddaughter, Esther, from Congo.
Ati no kuva muri Congo.
She is 12 years old.
Afite imyaka 12.
And in 2013,
mu 2013,
I went with my son and daughter-in-law to Kinshasa.
Anagiye hamwe n'umukobwa wanje hamwe n'umwishwa wanje tuja Kinshasa.
And we drove almost an hour, it seemed like,
twagiye isaha yose
to get to this orphanage.
Kugira ngo tugere aho twarimo tuja.
And we got her from the orphanage and then flew her back to the United States.
Atugera aho hanyuma turagaruka muri Leta Zunze Ubumwe za Amerika.
She's a wonderful part of our family. So
numwe mu muryango wacu.
I'm not Congolese, but I have a Congolese granddaughter.
Ntabwo ndi umukongomani ariko mfite umwuzukuru w'umukongomani.
If I could, I would like to have Acts chapter 11.
Ati bishobotse reka turebe mu byakozwe n'intumwa
and beginning with verse 19 through 26. Acts 11, 19 through 26.
Nuko abatatanijwe n'akarengane katewe n'ibya Stefano bagera i Foenike n'i Kupuro no muri Antiokia. Ari nta wundi babwira ijambo keretse abayuda bonyine. Ariko bamwe muri bo i Kupuro n'abikurene bageze muri Antiokia bavugana n'abagiriki nabo bababwira ubutumwa bwiza bw'umwami Yesu. Ukuboko k'umwami kuba kumwe nabo. Abantu benshi barizera bahindukirira umwami. Iyo nkuru irumvikana igera mu matwi y'itorero ry'i Yerusalemu, batuma Barinaba muri Antiokia, asohoyeyo kandi abonye ubuntu bw'Imana aranezerwa, abahugura bose ati mugume mu mwami Yesu mumaramaje mu mitima yanyu. Kuko Barinaba yari umunyangeso nziza wuzuye umwuka wera no kwizera. Abantu benshi bongerwa umwami Yesu. Bukeye avayo aja i Taruso gushaka Sawuli. Amubonye amujana muri Antiokia. Babanayo umwaka wose baterana n'abitorero bigisha abantu benshi, kandi muri Antiokia niho abigishwa batangiriye kwitwa abakristo.
Praise God for his word.
Imana ishimwe ku ijambo ryayo.
So just a little bit about this story.
Atereka mbabwire kucambake kuzi nkuru.
There was great persecution in Jerusalem.
Hariho gutotezwa cyane i Yerusalemu.
And that occurred right after the story that we see in Acts 7.
Ati usomye mu zakozwe n'intumwa karindwi.
About the stoning of Stephen.
Igihe bateye Stefano amabuye.
Remember that story?
Murayizi iyo nkuru.
So after that occurred,
hanyuma yo kwicwa kwa Stefano,
there was great persecution of the Christians in Jerusalem.
itotezwa ry'abakristo.
So much so that many of them fled Jerusalem
kubera ico benshi barahunga bava i Yerusalemu.
And went in different parts of the Mediterranean Sea world, the world there.
Ati bagenda begere ku nyanja ya Mediterane.
It's called the Great Diaspora.
Aho bita ni muri diaspora cyangwa se diaspora.
There's a way for God to get his people out of Jerusalem and to another part of the world.
Ati n'ubuntu bw'Imana, Imana gukura abantu muri Yerusalemu hanyuma akabajana mu bundi butaka ku yindi si.
And he used persecution to do that.
Kandi yakoresheje itoteza kugira ngo ibikore gutyo.
So let me ask, how many of you have ever been persecuted?
Ni bangahe mwese mwigeze gutotezwa hano?
You've ever suffered?
Mwahuye n'ibibazo?
Can I have a show of hands?
Uzamura ikibazo?
Something challenging in your life?
Wagize ikibazo mu buzima bwawe?
Maybe in Congo?
Ahari muri Congo?
Show of hands. How many of you have endured something? The Bible says
Bibiliya iravuga
that if you want to live a life worthy of the gospel of Jesus Christ,
ngo nimba ushaka kubaho ubuzima bwiza mu nkuru ya Yesu,
you will be persecuted.
Ngo uzatotezwa.
If we want to live a life worthy of Jesus,
nimba dushaka kubaho neza twishimira Imana Yesu,
we will be persecuted.
Tuzatotezwa.
Now we can get away from persecution.
Twashobora guhunga iryo totezwa.
We can get comfortable.
Twashobora kujaho twiyumva neza.
We can be safe.
Twashobora kubaho dutekanye.
We can be quiet.
Twashobora guceceka.
And probably we will not be persecuted.
Ahari ntabwo twashobora gutotezwa.
But if we want to live a life worthy of the gospel of Jesus Christ,
ariko dushaka kubaho ubuzima bujana n'ubutumwa bwiza bwa Yesu,
and we are about his work here in America,
kandi turahangaha kugo kuyikorera hano muri Amerika,
in Congo or anywhere else,
ati muri Congo n'ahandi,
ladies and gentlemen,
anshuti zanje,
boys and girls,
abakobwa n'abahungu,
we will be persecuted.
Tuzatotezwa.
Turn to your neighbor and say, we will be persecuted.
Umubwira ati tuzatotezwa.
Now let me tell you a little bit about Antioch.
Reka mbabwire gatoya kubijanye na Antiokia.
Antioch was about the third largest city in the Mediterranean.
Antiokia yari umujyi wa gatatu munini mu gice ca Mediterane.
Antioch was a trade city.
Antiokia yari ahantu bagurishirizaga abantu.
There were a lot of roads in and out. It was on a seaport.
Hari ahantu ku cyambu hari umuhanda n'inyanja.
So at that time, probably about 100,000 people lived in that area.
Ahari nk'ibihumbi hafi 200 bari batuye aho ngaho.
It was tremendously evil.
Kandi ngo bakoreraga Satani cyane.
With so much trade going in and out.
Aho baracuruzaga bakora ibintu
almost anything you can imaginable people did.
Ati ibintu udashobora gusobanura abantu bakoraho.
They worshipped statues of Daphne.
Basengaga ibigirwamana za Daphne.
And Artemis.
And
Artemis.
Na Artemis.
There were deities that they worshipped.
Ibyo ni ibigirwamana basengaga.
All kinds of rampant immorality.
Ibi byose byo kutubaha Imana.
So the Christians that came to Antioch,
abakristo baje muri Antiokia,
this is the kind of world in which they landed.
Aho ngaho niho bashikiye.
A very evil world.
Kandi hari ahantu h'abanyabyaha.
And in 40 years,
mu myaka 40,
Antioch became the center of Christianity.
Mu myaka Antiokia ihinduka centre y'ubutumwa bwiza cyangwa y'ubukristo.
How did that happen?
Ati byagenze gute?
It's like Las Vegas.
ati hari hameze nk'uko tuvuga Las Vegas.
You know, you think about Las Vegas. I don't know if you know much about Las Vegas. You probably don't need to know about Las Vegas. It's a very, very evil place where a lot of evil happens. So what happened was about 40, 50 people. Maybe those of us here in this room. God sends us to Las Vegas. And in 40 years it becomes the center of Christianity in America. Because that's what happened in Antioch. These Christians that have been persecuted, they come to Antioch in a very, very bad place. And in 40 years it becomes the center of Christianity. They sent missionaries out of Antioch. So how did that happen? How did that happen? You would think that these Christians that had been persecuted, fleeing for their lives, leaving everything they had, leaving Jerusalem, and landing in another place, maybe they would just be quiet. But were they quiet? Let's see. Verse number 21 says, the Lord's hand was with them, and a great number of people believed and turned to the Lord. They were not quiet. They didn't hide in their homes. They had just been persecuted. And they land in Antioch. And they spread the gospel. Folks, God is calling us to that today. We can no longer be comfortable. We have to be willing to be persecuted. Even here in America. And even folks, as I'm talking to you tonight that may have already gone through persecution. And life may have been difficult. And you have come to America and all of its stuff. And it would be easy to be comfortable. But God is calling you to live a life worthy of the gospel, and to be willing to be persecuted for your faith. We need to plant churches. We need a revival in America. We need a revival among the Congolese people. And we want to help you to do that if we can. This Thursday, this coming Thursday, I have made a call to our U.S. conference people, all 240 churches. And I'm asking all of you to join us in a 24-hour time of prayer and fasting. That we would be people of God's truth. Let me read verse 23. Because Barnabas came to Antioch. Barnabas, you know Barnabas, who he was with Paul and did a lot of ministry with Paul. And he comes to Antioch. It says, when he arrived and saw the evidence of the grace of God, he was glad and encouraged them all. Okay, let's look at this. What's next? He encouraged them all to remain true to the Lord with all their hearts.
abahugurira bose ati mugume mu mwami Yesu mumaramaje mu mitima yanyu.
He called them to be true to the Lord with all of their heart.
ababwira gukorera Imana kwizera Imana n'imitima yabo yose.
What did he call them to? What did he call them to?
Atese yarabahamagaye
To be true
yabahamagare kugira gute?
to God and His truth.
Kwizera no kwizera ukuri kw'Imana.
We have gotten away from that a lot here in America.
Ibyo natwe turabizi hano muri Amerika.
There are so many things that cause us to begin to bend a little bit.
Hari ibintu byinshi bituma tutabasha kugenda nk'uko tugomba kugenda.
Maybe we let a little bit of stuff from the world seep into our church.
Hari ibintu byinshi biva mu isi biza bitera amashengero yacu.
See, isn't it okay?
Ati birumvikana.
Isn't it okay? Isn't it okay to add a little bit to our Christianity?
Byaba byiza twongeyeho utuntu dukeya ku bukristo bwacu.
To allow the little bit of the world.
Kugira ngo natwe tube nk'abo mu isi.
Let's enjoy that.
Atereka tubyishimire rero.
Let's not push back too hard.
Atariko ibyo ngibyo ntitugomba kubishyira mu mitima yacu.
So I'm calling for this day of prayer and fasting.
Ati ndabasengera kuri uyu munsi twiyirije kandi dusenga.
That we as God's people would return to Him in His truth.
Atura abantu b'Imana tuzahindukirira mu kuri.
His word.
Ijambo ryayo.
His truth.
Ukuri kwayo.
And not let anything seep in that isn't from God.
Ntabwo nzareka ikintu cyose cyatuma ntabasha kuba hamwe n'Imana.
And that's not easy to do these days.
Kandi ntabwo byoroshye kubikora.
But these people were true.
Ariko aba bakozi b'Imana barabikoze.
To the gospel.
Mu butumwa bwiza.
And it says again, and you remember when I read a great number of people were brought to the Lord? Let's drop down to verse 25 at the bottom of that, and it says, Barnabas and Saul met with the church and taught great numbers of people. The disciples were called Christians first at Antioch.
Okay, 26.
We have three places where a great number of people believed. Verse 21, a great number of people believed. Verse 24, a great number of people were brought to the Lord. And then Barnabas taught a great number of people. In the world today, there are about 7.9 billion people.
Hariho amabilioni 7.9 like that.
Billion.
Yeah, sinzi uko billion bayita mu Kinyarwanda. Milliard.
Lots of people.
N'abantu benshi.
7.9 billion.
7.9 billion.
we got the number? A whole lot of people.
Yeah, ni milliard tuvuge gutya.
Folks, probably 7 billion of those people are headed for an eternity apart from God.
Birashoboka ko benshi muri bo bava mu Mana bayisiga.
Did we get that?
Twabyumvise.
7 billion people.
Amabilioni arindwi.
Does that even register in your mind?
Atese ibyo birabaza mu mutwe.
7 billion
billioni zirindwi
people
z'abantu.
You think that breaks God's heart?
Kuragira ngo ibyo ntibibaza Imana.
I think that breaks God's heart.
Ibyo birabaza Imana ariko mbibona.
And dare we pray for our hearts to be broken, for the things that break God's heart.
Akandi tugomba gusenga n'imitima yacu yose kuri ibyo bintu bibabaza Imana.
Are we willing to allow our hearts to be broken for people that don't know Jesus?
Kugira ngo imitima yacu imeneke kubera abo bantu.
Do you have people that you know that don't know Jesus?
Hari abantu uzi hari abantu wowe uzi utazi Yesu.
Because if we do,
tubikoze,
we must tell them.
Tugomba kubabwira.
These people in Antioch, these Christians, this may be offensive in a way, but they could not keep their mouths shut about Jesus. They had to proclaim Jesus. They had to speak about their Savior, Jesus. And in 40 years, it became the center of Christianity. Because they couldn't keep their mouths shut. They had to tell people about Jesus. Are we the same? Can we say yes to Jesus? We will be the same. I have a story to tell you. No, I'll go back. Sorry. I get carried away. When I preach, I usually walk all over the place.
It's okay.
We, as Mennonite brethren, have a mission work going on in northern Thailand. I don't know if you know where that is in the world, but it's in Asia. And up in the northern part of Thailand is the Mekong River. Thailand. North of Thailand is the Mekong River. Across the river is Laos. The country of Laos. So as we have started that mission work there in that part of the world, many pastors from Laos would come across the river at night. It was illegal to do so. But they came across to be taught the Word of God by pastors. So they would receive training, and then they would go back to Laos. And they began to preach the gospel. So about 18, 20 years ago, we started that mission agency in northern Thailand. With just a few people. And today we believe there are at least 50,000 believers. But here's the story I want to tell you. And then I'll be brief. Many of these pastors, it's illegal to preach the gospel. And kind of the secret police would take them and they would put them in a bunker. So a concrete bunker about this high from the stage, this high. And not very big, not even as big as like right here. And there would be a hole on one end and a hole on the other end and a small door. And they would put as many as 20 pastors in this small space and leave them there for several days. The only way they could sleep were to put their feet up against the wall and their back on the floor and kind of all the way around. During the day, they would trade places to have 1 minute at the opening to breathe. The guards, every once in a while, would throw in a ball of rice and maybe a bucket of water. And then maybe a bucket of water. And then each day they would bring each one of these men out. And they had a piece of paper. And they said, if you will sign this piece of paper, you can go free. And the paper said that you will no longer preach the gospel. What do you think these men did?
ati kuratekereza gute ibyo bintu?
They said, no, back into the
bakavuga ngo ya bagasubira muri wa mwobo.
Day after day in the heat.
Ati mu bushuhe umunsi buri munsi.
Each day they would bring them out.
Ati buri munsi bakabajana hanze.
Will you sign this paper?
Bakakubaza ati se urasinyira urupapuro?
And you can go free.
Hanyuma ugende.
No.
Oya.
Finally, these men were about to perish. They were about to die.
Hanyuma abo bantu bari bagiye gupfa.
So the guards didn't want them to die.
Kubera ko abo barindagaho ntibashakaga ko bapfa.
So they let their families take them home.
Bemerera ko imiryango yabo ibajana mu mago.
They couldn't even walk.
Ntabwo bashoboraga no kugenda.
Because of the situation they had been
kubera
in.
nyine ibyo baciyemo.
So when they got home,
bashitse mu mago yabo,
they spent a couple of days
bamara iminsi mike
recuperating.
Barimo bibutsa.
And then they were right back out telling people about Jesus.
Kandi bakongera bakaja kubwira abantu kubijanye na Yesu.
That is faith.
Uko niko kwizera.
That is persecution.
Iryo ni itotezwa.
That is saying it doesn't matter, Jesus, we're living for you.
Ati nta mpamvu wowe ufite ariko Yesu ari muri we.
One of those pastors,
umwe muri abo bapasteri,
we believe has started almost 800 churches.
Umwe amaze gutangira amakanisa 800.
Pretty amazing.
Ati birashimishije.
Pretty amazing, man. I don't know if I could do that.
Sinzi ko nashobora kubikora.
Am I willing to be persecuted for my faith?
Ati nditeguye gutotezwa kubwo kwizera kwanje.
I pray that I am.
Ati ndasenga kugira ngo mbuho.
I pray that we are.
Ati ndasenga kugira ngo natwe tumere uko.
Anyone who wants to live a life worthy of Jesus
hari umuntu ushaka kubaho ubuzima bujanye na Yesu
will be persecuted.
Azatotezwa.
Are we ready to pay the price?
Atese turiteguye kwishura.
I pray that we are.
Ati ndasenga kugira ngo
I pray we are.
Ndasenga kugira ngo tube abo.
Does it break our heart that people are
biratubabaza abantu
headed for an eternity apart from God?
Birakubabaza iyo abantu bava mu gakiza?
Can I pray over you?
Ati twashobora gusenga.
Would you stand?
Ati washobora guhaguruka.
Because we're going to go before God right now.
Ati tugiye kuja imbere y'Imana na ubu nyine.
And we're going to say, Jesus, Lord,
ati turavuga ngo Yesu mwami.
We are willing.
Ati turiteguye.
We are willing as we live for you.
Ati turiteguye kuko tubayeho kubwawe.
To proclaim your gospel.
Kwamamaza ubutumwa bwiza.
Even if it means hardship.
Ati naho bigoye.
Even if it means persecution.
Habe naho hari totezwa.
Lord, would you build your church?
Ati Mana ubake isengero.
Look at your brother, your sister beside you.
Ko muvukana inshuti yawe.
God is asking us to help him to build his church.
Ati Mana kira kutubwira ngo twubake isengero.
Yes. Say yes to one another. Say yes. Turn to one another and say yes.
Ubwire ukuri ruhande uvuge ngo yego.
I am willing, Lord Jesus.
Ndashaka kumenya Yesu.
Hallelujah. Amen.
Hallelujah. Amen.
You can be seated.
Ati mwashobora kwicara.